In this audiobook, we will walk together through the unseen terrain of the soul, exploring spirituality not as a belief system, but as a direct experience. This is not about fixing yourself or seeking something more. It is about remembering what has always been within you. Every chapter in this audiobook offers a deep dive into a different layer of the inner journey. Through stillness, trust, healing, and sacred presence, we return to the heart of what it means to be whole. This is your invitation to breathe, to slow down, and to listen, not just to the words, but to the silence between them. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The Silence Beneath All Things. There is a place within you that has never been touched by noise. It exists beneath the layers of your thoughts, your worries, your ambitions, and your fears. It is not something you need to create, achieve, or reach. It is already here, already now, already you. But in the chaos of daily life, in the endless turning of the mind, it becomes easy to forget, easy to chase instead of pause, easy to search for what has never been missing. You are surrounded by sound, by stimulation, by expectation. The world spins faster each day, asking you to keep up, keep producing, keep striving. But none of that has anything to do with what you are. What you are is not in motion. It is not in achievement. It is not in identity. What you are is still, spacious, silent. Not silent in absence, but silent in fullness. A silence that holds all things. A silence that is alive. When you close your eyes and breathe, you do not leave the world. You return to it. You come back to a truth that cannot be spoken, only felt. A truth that arises not in the shouting of ideas, but in the quiet of being. This is the silence beneath all things. The silence that remains when the story stops. The silence that is not disturbed by your emotions or your failures or your brilliance. It simply holds you. Exactly as you are. There is nothing to fix here. There is nothing to prove. You do not need to earn rest. You do not need to deserve peace. You do not need to become better before you can soften. The silence does not require anything from you. It welcomes you in every form, whether you are joyful or broken, clear or confused, hopeful or hopeless. It makes no judgment. It waits. It watches. It holds. This silence is not passive. It is not void. It is presence itself. It is awareness so complete that it needs no explanation. It is the part of you that notices without effort. That hears the voice of your mind and does not argue. That feels the waves of your emotion and does not drown. That sees the unfolding of your life and does not panic. It is your anchor, your sanctuary, your original home. Many people seek enlightenment like a finish line, as though there is somewhere to get, someone to become, something to attain. But what if awakening is not about adding anything? What if it is about subtracting everything that is not you? Everything that is loud, heavy, anxious, pretending. What if awakening is not a path you walk, but a return to what is already still? To rest in silence is not to escape the world. It is to finally see it clearly, to walk through life without being dragged by it, to breathe without forgetting that you are breathing, to feel without believing that every feeling defines you, to think without losing yourself inside your thoughts. The silence does not disconnect you. It roots you. It stabilizes you in what is real, here, and eternal. And yet, the mind resists. The mind fears silence because it cannot control it. It cannot shape it or predict it or manage it, so it fills the space with more thinking, more planning, more noise. The mind wants to be needed. It wants to be relevant. And that is okay. You do not need to fight the mind. Just notice it. Let it talk. Let it move. And gently, without force, return to the space that holds it. the awareness behind it, the silence that hears it all and clings to none of it. You are not your thoughts. You are the space they pass through. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness that feels them without needing to fix them. You are not your story. You are the silence before the story began, and the silence that remains after it ends. Even in the middle of the story, the silence is still there. It never left. You just forgot to listen. There is great power in doing nothing, not in apathy or avoidance, but in sacred presence, in allowing yourself to simply be, without agenda, without improvement, without effort. Just be. Sit. Breathe. Feel the weight drop. Feel the world soften. Feel your identity loosen its grip. This is not a technique. This is not a method. This is a remembering. And what you remember is that you are not separate from life. You are not a mistake. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are the unfolding itself. You are the breath. You are the awareness. You are the silence that speaks before words arise. You are the peace that needs no explanation. You are the presence that has never disappeared, even when you've abandoned yourself. You can begin again in this breath. You can come home right now. There is no requirement, no application, no test. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need to wait for your pain to disappear. You don't need to wait for your mind to be quiet. You only need to stop, to notice, to allow the silence to rise, not from outside of you, but from the core of what you are. And yes, the world will still spin. The noise will still return. The alarm rolls will still ask for you. But once you have tasted the silence, you will never be fully lost again. You will carry it like a flame, quiet, gentle, steady. You will speak from it. You will listen from it. You will act from it. Not because you are trying to be spiritual, but because you have remembered what you are made of. You are made of space. You are made of breath. You are made of presence. You are made of the same stillness that cradles the stars, the same silence that birthed the earth. It lives in you. It breathes through you. And it asks for nothing except that you stop long enough to feel it. It is not far. It is not hidden. It is this very moment, this very breath, this very pause. Let everything fall for a moment. Let the striving go. Let the explanations rest. Let yourself be no one, become nothing, and do nothing. Let it all go and listen. Listen not with your ears, but with your being. Beneath it all, something is already here. Something sacred. Something still. Something that never needed to be found, because it was never lost. It is the silence beneath all things, and it is calling you home. Chapter 2. Remembering the self beyond the story. Before the world told you who you were, before you learned how to perform for love or shrink for safety, before the roles and names and definitions wrapped themselves around your identity, there was something pure and untouched within you. That something has not been lost. It has only been forgotten. Beneath all the noise, the striving, and the suffering, you remain whole. The story you tell yourself about who you are may be convincing, even poetic, but it is not the truth. The truth is quieter. The truth is still, and the truth lives beyond the story. You have spent so long building a version of yourself that the world would accept, that perhaps you began to believe in it too. You wear the mask so well that even the mirror doesn't question them anymore. You call them names like identity, personality, past, potential. You wrap yourself in these labels, hoping they will protect you, define you, give you shape. But these masks are not what you are. They are costumes the soul wears temporarily, expressions of a deeper essence playing on the stage of form, and like all performances, they end. What remains is what was always real. To remember the self beyond the story is not to erase your history or reject your humanity. It is not to deny your experiences. It is to see through them, to soften the grip you have on who you think you are, to notice that you are not the character, but the awareness watching the play unfold. You are not the content of the story. You are the space in which the story is told. You are the silence behind the words, the stillness behind the movement, the presence behind the mask. There may come a moment, quiet and unexpected, when the story loses its weight. When you are no longer trying to fix yourself or prove yourself, or become someone greater. When the desire to be seen fades into the desire to be free. In that moment, something sacred opens, a space where you can rest without performance. A breath where you can exist without explanation. This is not a moment of becoming more. It is the realization that there is nothing more to become. You were never meant to be a role. You were never here to be defined by your wounds, your accomplishments, your failures, or your beliefs. These are experiences. They are not you. They come and go, rise and fall, pass like clouds through the sky of your awareness. You are not the clouds. You are the sky. You are not the waves. You are the ocean holding them. You are not the chapters of the book. You are the blank page upon which they are written. You are not the story. You are what holds the story together. And yet, you can love the story. You can appreciate the journey. You can honor the mess, the growth, the learning. You can cry for the parts that hurt and laugh at the parts that taught you joy. But never again mistake the story for yourself. It is not the container that defines you. It is the light that shines through it. You are the light. Always were. Always will be. When you begin to live from this remembrance, something deep within relaxes. The constant tension of needing to be someone special fades into the peace of simply being. You stop measuring your worth by the reactions of others. You stop fearing judgment because you no longer judge yourself by the script the world handed you. You stop trying to control your image because you have remembered your essence. The masks fall gently, and you no longer need to hold them up. This remembrance does not make you indifferent. It makes you deeply compassionate. Because when you see yourself beyond your own story, you begin to see others beyond theirs. You see the innocence beneath the anger, the fear beneath the armor, the light behind the mask. You meet people not as characters, but as presence. And your presence becomes a mirror in which they too might remember what they are. You begin to live more lightly, to laugh more freely, to walk through life not weighed down by identity, but held up by truth. You take things less personally because you know the person is only a small expression of something immeasurable. You forgive faster because you know that mistakes live in the story, but the self is beyond blame. You stop striving for spiritual achievements because there is nothing to achieve. You are already that which you seek. There will still be days when you forget, days when the story feels real again, when the masks feel necessary, when the world pulls you back into its games. That's okay. Remembrance is not perfection. It is not a constant state. It is a returning, a gentle returning. Over and over again, you remember, in your breath, in your stillness, in your choice to pause before reacting, in your willingness to see yourself not as a project to fix, but as a presence to honor. You are not here to be impressive. You are here to be free. And freedom does not come from building a better story. It comes from remembering you were never the story in the first place. You can walk through your life like a river flowing through land, carving, changing, evolving, but never questioning its source. You are that river. You are that source. You are that flow. In this moment, you can return. You don't need to prepare. You don't need to understand how. Just drop the story for a breath. Drop the name. Drop the role. Drop the need to become. Feel what remains. Not an idea, not a voice, but a presence. A quiet, spacious, undeniable presence. That is what you are. That is who you've always been. And the story? Let it unfold. Let it dance. Let it speak. But never let it convince you that you are only what it says. You are the silence watching. You are the stillness holding it all. You are the self that exists beyond the story. And you are home. Chapter 3. The Gentle Power of Surrender. There is a part of you that has spent your whole life trying to hold everything together. It carries the weight of expectations, the need for control, the fear of uncertainty. It plans, calculates, resists, and strives. It works endlessly to shape life into something predictable and safe. And yet, despite all its effort, life continues to move in mysterious ways. It doesn't obey your plans. It doesn't follow your rules. It flows on its own terms. And within that flow lies a secret. What you're truly searching for begins not with force, but with surrender. Surrender is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is not a collapse or a failure. Surrender is a sacred opening. It is the moment you stop fighting life and start listening to it. It is the soft exhale when you release your grip on what you cannot control. It is the willingness to let things be as they are, not because you don't care, but because you finally trust that you don't have to hold the whole world in your hands. There is a wisdom in life that your mind cannot understand, a rhythm that cannot be predicted. You may call it spirit, source, universe, or simply life. Whatever you call it, it moves with an intelligence far greater than the one you were taught to rely on. And when you surrender to it, you do not disappear. You come alive. You stop pushing against the current and begin to move with it, guided not by fear, but by trust. So much suffering comes from resistance. The resistance to what is. The resistance to change. The resistance to not knowing. But when you let go of that resistance, even for a moment, you begin to feel the peace that has been waiting beneath it. Not because your life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you no longer need it to be. Surrender doesn't change the outside world. It changes your relationship to it. And in that shift, everything softens. This is the gentle power of surrender. It doesn't force. It allows. It doesn't demand. It receives. It doesn't conquer. It embraces. And in that embracing, life begins to unfold not according to your agenda, but according to a deeper order, one that was always moving beneath your plans, whispering through your intuition, breathing in the pauses between your thoughts. There may be fear when you consider surrender, fear that things will fall apart, that you'll be left behind, that life won't catch you if you let go. But the truth is, life has always been catching you, even in your resistance, even in your struggle, even in the moments you felt most lost. Life was there, holding you, shaping you, guiding you home. Surrender simply allows you to feel that truth more clearly. To surrender is to say yes to this moment, to this breath, to this feeling, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's uncertain. It is to say yes without needing to know what comes next. It is to stand in the mystery with open hands, trusting that what you truly need cannot be taken from you, that who you truly are cannot be broken by circumstance, that peace is not found in control, but in presence. You may still have goals. You may still take action. Surrender doesn't mean passivity. It means alignment. It means moving not from fear, but from clarity. It means doing not to escape the moment, but to honor it. When you act from surrender, your action is infused with love, with patience, with integrity. It is not rushed. It is not desperate. It is rooted in something real. There is a soft strength in surrender that cannot be shaken. It does not depend on outcomes. It is not affected by other people's opinions. It is not threatened by failure. It is the strength that comes from knowing you are not alone in this life, that something larger is moving through you, that you are supported, even when you cannot see how. You may not always understand why things happen the way they do. You may not always get what you want, but you begin to see that even in disappointment, even in pain, something sacred is being offered. A lesson, a redirection, a deeper awakening. And when you meet life with surrender, you receive those offerings not with resistance, but with grace. Sometimes surrender means letting go of a dream you've outgrown. Sometimes it means releasing a relationship that no longer honors your soul. Sometimes it means admitting that you don't know and allowing that not knowing to be enough. And sometimes it simply means pausing, breathing, and coming back to the present moment without trying to fix it. The gentle power of surrender invites you to trust yourself in a new way, to trust your body's wisdom, to trust your heart's knowing, to trust the quiet voice within that says, you don't have to do it all alone. It invites you to rest in the arms of life, to be held, to be supported, to be enough exactly as you are. You are not meant to carry everything. You are not meant to figure it all out. You are meant to listen, to feel, to follow the subtle currents that pull you toward peace, even when they don't make sense to the mind. You are meant to trust that you are not off course, that even when you feel lost, you are being led. That surrender is not a detour, it is the path. And so you begin again. Not by tightening your grip, but by loosening it. Not by trying harder, but by softening more. You breathe into the discomfort. You allow the mystery. You meet yourself in the tenderness of the moment and remember that you are held, always held. Not because everything is certain, but because you are no longer afraid of uncertainty. This is the gentle power of surrender. It doesn't promise ease, but it offers peace. It doesn't remove challenge, but it dissolves struggle. It doesn't fix the world, but it changes how you walk through it. And that change is everything. Surrender is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of your freedom. Chapter 4. Trusting the mystery of the moment. There is a part of you that wants to know. It wants certainty, definition, and a clear path ahead. It wants to map every possibility, calculate every risk, and design a future where nothing can go wrong. This part of you is trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you safe. But safety and truth are not always the same. And often, the search for control is the very thing that cuts you off from the sacred presence of now. The mind believes that understanding everything will bring peace. But peace does not come from knowing what happens next. Peace comes from allowing what is already here. Peace arises when you stop resisting the unknown and begin trusting the mystery of the moment. This moment, with all of its uncertainty, is not a mistake. It is not a problem to solve. It is a living doorway into presence. You have been taught to fear what you cannot predict, to tighten around the unknown, to fill every silence with noise. But mystery is not the enemy. Mystery is the sacred ground where life unfolds. It is where magic lives. It is where grace appears when the mind has given up trying to figure everything out. Mystery is where truth breathes, and truth is never rigid. It is alive. It moves like the wind. It shows up in unexpected forms. It doesn't always speak the language of logic, but it always speaks the language of the heart. Trust is not passive. It is the most courageous thing you can do. It is a choice made moment by moment to surrender into the now, even when it doesn't make sense. It is the willingness to sit inside the unanswered questions, not because you are weak, but because you have remembered that the answers live in something bigger than thought. They live in being. There will be days when you want to run, days when the uncertainty is loud and uncomfortable, when your mind races with stories and your body tightens with doubt. That's okay. Trusting the mystery doesn't mean you always feel peaceful. It means you stop abandoning yourself in discomfort. It means you stay. You breathe. You soften, even when you don't know how things will unfold. The mystery is not a puzzle to solve. It is a rhythm to move with. Sometimes you will feel guided. Sometimes you will feel lost. But neither state defines your path. Both are part of the same unfolding. Both are valid. Both are sacred. The moment you stop fighting what is and start leaning into what's here, life begins to meet you in ways you could never plan. It surprises you with its kindness. It shows you that you are not alone, even when everything feels unknown. Trust does not mean you never act. It means your actions come from presence, not panic. From clarity, not compulsion. From wisdom, not fear. When you trust the moment, you become available to the deeper intelligence of life. You begin to notice the small signs, the subtle nudges, the quiet truths that were always there but drowned out by the noise of your need to know. There is no formula for how to live this way. There is only your own experience. There is only the willingness to listen, to feel, to pause long enough for your deeper knowing to rise. And it will rise. Not all at once, not in the way your mind expects, but gently, like sunlight through a clouded sky. It comes in the breath, in the pause, in the moments you stop trying to make life different and begin to be with life as it is. To trust the mystery of the moment is to remember that you are not separate from life, that what moves the stars also moves you, that the same presence that shaped oceans is shaping your path. You are not here by accident. You are not broken. You are not off course. You are in the exact place you need to be to remember the truth of what you are. And that truth is not fragile. It is not lost in the unknown. It is revealed through it. Sometimes the mystery will ask you to let go, to release what you thought was your path, to soften your grip on old identities, plans, or expectations. This letting go can feel like death, but it is always followed by rebirth. When the old falls away, what is real can finally come forth. What is true can finally take shape. And that truth will not need to be proven. It will simply feel right, not perfect, not easy, but real. Let yourself trust even when your mind says you can't. Let yourself rest in not knowing. Let yourself be held by the very moment you once tried to escape. This is not a step backward. This is the deepest form of progress, returning to presence, to simplicity, to the wisdom of now. This is how life was always meant to be lived, not in constant preparation for some future version of peace, but in the actual, living experience of peace here and now. You will forget. That is part of the rhythm. You will fall back into doubt, back into control, back into the old patterns of needing to know. That's okay. Trust is not perfection. Trust is returning. Again and again, returning to the breath, to the body, to the feeling that even in this, something sacred is unfolding. You don't need to do it alone. You never were. The mystery is not working against you. It is not withholding answers as punishment. It is guiding you toward a deeper way of being. A way where presence becomes your safety, not certainty. Where love becomes your foundation, not control. Where life becomes your companion, not your enemy. Trust begins not in some distant moment when everything is clear. It begins here, in the middle of the fog, in the middle of the fear, in the willingness to say, I don't know, but I am here. In the choice to be with what is instead of waiting for what might be. This is the sacred path. This is the quiet power This is trusting the mystery of the moment. And in this trust, you are already free. Chapter 5. The presence that was always with you. There is something that has never left you. Something that does not rise and fall with your moods, does not come and go with your thoughts, does not depend on your success or failure, your clarity or confusion. It has been with you through joy and despair, through love and loss, through stillness and chaos. It is not your mind. It is not your story. It is not the voice that judges, compares, or explains. It is the presence that watches, the presence that waits, the presence that has always been here. From the moment you took your first breath, and even before that, it was here. Before you learned your name, before you were given a role, before you were taught to chase and fear and perform, it was already holding you, not as an idea, not as a belief, as a direct, living awareness. It was there in the quiet gaze of your first wonder. It was there when you sat in silence and time seemed to disappear. It was there in the still moments when the mind stopped and the world felt whole again. You may not have known what to call it, but you have always known it. This presence is not something you can lose, though you can forget to notice it. You can get tangled in the noise, in the roles, in the constant movement of becoming. You can live your entire life chasing a future where you'll finally feel whole. But the truth is, wholeness has always been here. It is not something you reach, it is something you return to. In the rush to become someone, you overlook what you are. In the effort to be worthy, you miss the worth that never left. In the need to be seen, you forget the one who is always seeing. The presence is not concerned with your image. It is not invested in your status. It does not measure you by your performance. It sees you as you are, always, and it loves you without condition. This presence is your original self, not the self shaped by memory and culture and pain, not the self that fights for control, the self that simply is, that is still, aware, whole. It does not need fixing. It does not need improving. It does not need permission to exist. It is already here, already enough, already home. You may look for this presence in spiritual practices, in quiet retreats, in sacred rituals, and while those things can point you toward it, they are not the presence itself. The presence cannot be captured or contained. It cannot be packaged or earned. It is not outside you. It is what you are. You do not need to reach for it. You only need to stop looking away. It is here when you breathe. It is here when you listen. It is here in the space between your thoughts, in the silence behind your words. It is here in your stillness and in your movement. It is not separate from you, but it is more than the idea you have of yourself. It is deeper than personality, wider than identity, freer than story. You may ask, how do I stay in this presence? But the question itself arises from the part of you that believes presence is a place to arrive at. There is no arriving. There is only remembering, returning, noticing. Presence does not begin. It does not end. It is not something you can hold. It is what holds you. And yes, you will forget. You will get pulled into thought, into reaction, into fear. That's not failure. That's part of being human. Presence doesn't ask you to stay perfectly still. It asks only that you remember you can return, again and again, with gentleness, with grace, with the quiet knowing that nothing is broken and nothing is missing. When you begin to live from this presence, you don't lose yourself. You find yourself. Not the self the world trained you to be, but the self that watches quietly, breathes slowly, listens deeply. The self that is not afraid of silence. The self that does not need to impress. The self that simply is. You become more patient, not because you try to be, but because you are no longer rushing toward a moment that promises peace. You find peace in the moment itself. You speak more honestly, not because you want to be authentic, but because there's nothing left to hide. You love more freely, not because you think you should, but because love flows naturally from presence. You begin to see others differently. You no longer meet them as identities, as roles, as opinions. You meet them as presence. You see the light behind their eyes, even when they cannot see it themselves. You become a reminder to others that there is something more, something deeper, something still holding them even in their confusion. Presence is not a reward. It is a birthright. You do not have to be enlightened. You do not have to be healed. You do not have to be perfect. You only have to be here. To stop running. To stop pretending. To stop trying to be someone you are not. And in that stopping, in that softening, in that returning, you will remember. You will remember that the very peace you've been searching for is what's looking through your eyes. That the love you've tried to earn is already holding you. That the silence you've feared is the doorway to everything real. You will remember that nothing out there can complete you because you were never incomplete. This is the presence that was always with you. Through every season, through every fall and rising, through every joy and pain. It never turned away. It never left. It was simply waiting for you to be still enough to feel it. It was always here. It is here now. And so you breathe. You listen. You come home. Not to a place, but to the truth that cannot leave you. Not to a thought, but to the stillness behind the thought. Not to a goal, but to the presence that was always with you, and always will be. Chapter 6. Healing without fixing. There is a quiet lie woven into the fabric of your thoughts, that in order to be whole, you must first be fixed. That your pain must be resolved, your flaws corrected, your past undone. That healing is a destination where all wounds disappear, where all emotions are tidy, and where you finally become the version of yourself that deserves peace. But true healing doesn't come from fixing what's broken. It comes from seeing that you were never broken. The mind loves solutions. It wants things to be clean, explainable, solvable. It sees pain as a problem, discomfort as a flaw, and confusion as something to eliminate. But the heart doesn't work this way. The heart does not demand resolution. It asks for space. It asks to be felt. It asks to be heard. What you have called damage may simply be the part of you that hasn't been loved enough yet. Not the part that needs fixing, but the part that needs presence. Healing without fixing begins when you stop trying to rearrange yourself and start listening instead. It begins when you stop pushing away your sadness, your rage, your fear, and instead allow them to speak, not to control you, but to be acknowledged. Pain that is listened to transforms. Pain that is avoided festers. You are not here to erase your pain. You are here to hold it with enough tenderness that it finally softens. There are no shortcuts on this path. There is no formula. Some wounds stay open longer than others. Some return in waves. This is not failure. This is being human. You are not a machine with parts to replace. You are a living, breathing mystery, made of light and memory, born into a world that often forgets how to hold itself gently. And in this forgetting, you learn to carry shame, to hide your grief, to apologize for your scars. But your scars are not mistakes. They are reminders of your resilience. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to be someone else. It's not about removing your pain, but about realizing that your pain doesn't define you. You can be tender and whole at the same time. You can feel sadness and still be grounded in peace. You can grieve and still be sacred. The presence within you holds all of it. Sometimes healing looks like falling apart, like crying without knowing why. like feeling a wave of emotion that doesn't fit the moment. This isn't regression. This is truth surfacing. This is your body and heart catching up with what your mind tried to forget. Let it come. Let it move through. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling too much. You were never meant to feel less. You were meant to feel fully, honestly, wildly, and then rest. To heal without fixing is to befriend yourself. To stop treating yourself like a problem. To notice the way you speak to your inner world. Are you judging your sadness? Are you rushing your healing? Are you comparing your journey to someone else's? Let those questions soften. Let your grip loosen. You are allowed to be exactly as you are. Right now. Without changing a thing. The moments that feel heavy. The emotions that seem overwhelming. The parts of you that still hurt. These are not obstacles. They are invitations. They are asking for your attention, not your solution. They are asking for your presence, not your plan. Sit with them. Breathe with them. Feel their edges, their textures, their movement. They do not need to go away. They only need to be seen. And in seeing them, something shifts. Not because you've fixed anything, but because you've made room for what's real. You've said yes to yourself in your most unguarded form. You've shown your inner world that it is welcome here. All of it. Even the confusion. Even the numbness. Even the longing. Healing without fixing does not mean you stop growing. It means you grow from love, not from fear. It means you change because something inside you is ready, not because you've judged yourself into transformation. It means you trust the pace of your unfolding, that you no longer rush your becoming, that you recognize the sacredness of the slow bloom. There will be days when you feel like you've gone backward, days when the pain feels new again. But healing is not linear. It circles, it spirals, it deepens. Each time the pain returns, it meets a deeper awareness. Each time you feel it again, you are stronger, softer, more present. This is not failure. This is integration. You don't have to earn rest. You don't have to prove your healing. You don't have to perform your peace. The most powerful healing often happens in silence, in the breath, in the body, in the choice to stay with yourself even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. What if your pain isn't asking to be erased, but embraced? What if the part of you you've tried to fix is the part that holds your most profound wisdom? What if the places you've abandoned are still waiting for you? Not to come back as a savior, but as a witness. What if you don't need to be perfect to be whole? There is a stillness within you that has never been harmed. A presence that holds your pain without judgment. A love that doesn't need to understand everything to offer comfort. That is what you are returning to. Not a version of you that never gets hurt, but a version of you that no longer runs from what hurts. This path is not about arriving. It's about honoring. It's about learning to meet yourself in each moment with more compassion than the last. It's about choosing presence over perfection, truth over image, gentleness over judgment. Healing without fixing is not a destination. It's a relationship. A way of being with yourself that is spacious, tender, and true. And in that way of being, you begin to notice something profound. You were never broken. You were only waiting to be seen. Chapter 7. When the seeker disappears. The spiritual path often begins with longing, a yearning for truth, peace, connection, something deeper than the surface of ordinary life. This longing can awaken like a fire inside the heart, driving you to meditate, to pray, to study, to sit in silence, to chase glimpses of stillness or joy. The seeker is born from this yearning. And for a while, the seeker serves a purpose. The seeker moves you toward presence. The seeker turns your attention inward. The seeker brings awareness to what has been forgotten. But at some point, something unexpected happens. The path that once felt like movement forward begins to feel circular. The seeking itself starts to feel heavy. The hunger that once pointed toward awakening begins to feel like the very thing keeping you from it. The practices become routine. The goals become illusions. And a quiet voice inside you begins to whisper, "What if there is nothing left to seek?" When the seeker disappears, what is left is what was always here. Not an achievement, not an arrival, not a destination, just being, just presence, just the spacious truth of now, without the need to chase a better version of it. The disappearance of the seeker is not the end of your journey. It is the moment the illusion of the journey dissolves. It is the realization that what you were searching for is what you are. There is a strange kind of silence that follows this realization. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of wholeness. A silence so complete that the mind no longer knows what to do. The seeker, once motivated by the idea of becoming enlightened or finding peace, fades like a dream upon waking. Not because peace was attained, but because the search was never necessary. This can feel disorienting at first. The seeker gave you identity, structure, purpose. Without it, there may be a sense of groundlessness, a void where ambition used to live. But stay with this space. Do not rush to fill it. Do not rush to become someone new. Let the silence speak. Let it show you that what you are is not the seeker. It is what watches the seeker. It is the presence that was never on a path, because it never left home. So much of spiritual striving is built on the belief that there is something wrong with you, that you are asleep and need to wake up, that you are broken and need to be fixed, that you are separate and need to reconnect. But what if none of that was ever true? What if the very effort to transcend your humanity is what keeps you from embracing your divinity? What if there is no gap between what you are and what you long for? When the seeker disappears, there is nothing to explain, no experience to validate, no insight to chase. There is only what is. This breath, this moment, this awareness. And in that simplicity, life becomes sacred again. Not because you found meaning, but because you've stopped demanding it. Not because you've reached a higher state, but because you've stopped trying to escape this one. The ego may resist this dissolution. It wants to remain the one who is becoming enlightened. It wants credit, progress, identity. But presence has no identity. It needs no narrative. It is not interested in being impressive. It simply is. And when you rest in that presence, you stop measuring your path. You stop comparing your awakening. You stop proving anything to anyone, including yourself. You begin to notice the small things, the way the wind moves through the trees, the rhythm of your breath, the feeling of your feet on the earth. These moments become everything. They are not stepping stones towards some future awakening. They are the awakening. They are the arrival. You are no longer on your way. You are here. And in that here-ness, a new kind of life begins. A life that is not driven by spiritual ambition, but guided by natural stillness. A life that does not chase truth, but expresses it. A life that does not need to be special, because it has remembered how to be real. You become like the sky, open, quiet, unchanged by the clouds that pass through. Relationships shift, conversations deepen. The need to prove or protect or persuade begins to dissolve. You no longer see yourself as separate from life, or from others, or from the mystery itself. You see through the illusion of division. You understand that all the seeking in the world was just a dance around what was always within. When the seeker disappears, you don't lose your humanity. You rediscover it, not as a limitation, but as a sacred expression of the infinite. You feel sadness, and it is holy. You feel joy, and it is enough. You feel pain, and you no longer ask it to go away. You become intimate with everything because nothing threatens you anymore. You are not trying to transcend life. You are meeting it fully. And yes, you may still sit in silence. You may still meditate. You may still read or pray or contemplate. But these things are no longer steps on a path. They are simply expressions of presence. They are no longer tools to get somewhere. They are acts of love. They are what you do not to find peace, but because peace is already here. This is the paradox. When the seeker disappears, what remains is everything you ever longed for. Not as an experience, but as being itself. You are not reaching for the light. You are the light remembering itself. You are not on the path. You are the path. You are the home you thought was somewhere else. You are the end of the search, and you always were. Chapter 8. Loving what is as it is. To love what is as it is may be the most radical act of all. It goes against everything the mind is conditioned to do. The mind wants to fix, improve, escape, or resist. It wants to divide life into what's acceptable and what's not. It labels moments as good or bad, people as right or wrong, feelings as wanted or unwanted. It creates a constant battle between what is happening and what should be happening. But peace does not live in that battle. Peace lives in the surrender to what is. This surrender is not resignation. It is not defeat. It is not giving up on change or progress. It is the simple yet profound act of allowing life to be exactly as it is in this moment, without needing it to be anything else in order for you to rest. It is the recognition that everything, even the difficult, the messy, the painful, is already held in a deeper intelligence, that you do not need to fight reality in order to find your place in it. To love what is means to stop postponing your peace, to stop waiting for some future version of life to grant you permission to relax. It means breathing into the moment as it unfolds, not because it is perfect, but because it is real. It means honoring what you feel without trying to change it, without trying to make it more spiritual, more comfortable, or more acceptable. You are allowed to love the parts of you that still ache, the thoughts that still return, the patterns you thought would be gone by now. You are allowed to love the way your heart still trembles, the way your voice shakes, the way you are learning how to be here. This love is not conditional. It does not wait for the moment you finally get it right. It meets you now, in the rawness, in the imperfection, in the unfolding. To love what is means to meet life on its own terms, to open your arms to the entire spectrum of experience and say, even this, even the sadness, even the confusion, even the longing, even the boredom, even the silence, even the noise, even the things you thought you had to get rid of before you could be free. Especially those things. This love is not sentimental. It does not gloss over suffering. It does not pretend everything is fine when it's not. It is fierce and honest. It holds space for grief without needing to change it. It allows anger to be felt without shame. It gives fear a place to rest without trying to fix it. It welcomes every part of you, not as a problem, but as a beloved guest. To love what is means to trust the moment, not because it always feels good, but because it is always sacred. Because even in the pain, there is presence. Even in the struggle, there is aliveness. Even in the confusion, there is a pulse of truth. You may not understand why something is happening. You may not know where it's leading. But you can still choose to be with it, to soften your resistance, to stay open. This does not mean you never act. It does not mean you don't set boundaries, seek help, or work toward change. But it means that your actions arise from clarity, not rejection, from love, not fear. You stop trying to fix your life from a place of self-rejection. You start relating to life from the awareness that even in its current form, it is already whole. When you stop fighting what is, you begin to see its beauty. Not the kind of beauty that fits a picture or a fantasy, but the beauty of truth. The beauty of what's alive. The beauty of this breath, this feeling, this exact experience, no matter how incomplete it may seem. You realize that peace is not the result of life being a certain way. It is the result of no longer needing life to be different. To love what is means to meet yourself in the mirror and no longer flinch, to no longer turn away from your own eyes, to see the lines, the shadows, the sadness, and to bow, to say, you are enough, not because you've achieved your goals, not because you've become someone new, but because what you are, underneath the stories and judgments, is love itself. This is the invitation. Not to chase an idea of what life should be, but to wake up to what life is. To look around you. Not someday, not when it's perfect, but now. And say yes. Yes to the ordinary. Yes to the flawed. Yes to the mystery. Yes to the mess. Yes to the miracle that you are still here, still breathing, still able to feel and see and notice and love. You don't have to earn this moment. You don't have to understand it. You only have to meet it with openness, with willingness, with the courage to say, this too belongs. That is the essence of love. Not the feeling, but the presence. Not the emotion, but the allowing. Love is the space that holds everything and asks nothing to change. And when you live from that space, life no longer feels like something to manage. It feels like something to dance with, even when it's clumsy, even when it's painful, even when you don't know the steps. Because love does not need choreography, it only needs your presence. Loving what is does not mean staying silent in the face of harm. It does not mean accepting injustice or avoiding responsibility. It means starting from a place of wholeness, of truth. It means seeing clearly and acting from love. It means being deeply rooted in presence, so that your voice is grounded, your heart is open, and your actions are aligned. And perhaps the most healing truth of all, you don't need to be anyone else to be worthy of this love. You don't need to be better, more healed, more spiritual. You don't need to have it all together. The love you've been searching for is not a reward for becoming someone new. It is the homecoming to what has always been waiting beneath, everything you thought needed to change. This moment is sacred, not because it is extraordinary, but because it is alive, because it is real, because it is here, and because you are here with it. Loving what is, as it is, may not make life easier, but it makes life honest. It makes life whole. And in that wholeness, you will find the peace that cannot be taken, the presence that cannot be shaken, and the love that cannot be lost, because it is not out there. It is you. Chapter 9. You are not the storm. There are days when the sky inside you darkens. Days when thoughts swirl like wind, when emotions rise like waves crashing into everything stable. Days when nothing makes sense and everything feels too much. On those days, it can seem like you've lost yourself. Like the light has gone out. Like the peace you once touched was only a dream. But even in that storm, even in that turmoil, something remains untouched. And that something is you. You are not the storm. You are the sky it moves through. The storm is real. It matters. It has energy, force, presence, but it is not the whole truth. It is not your essence. It is a temporary weather system within a much vaster field. You may feel lost inside the storm, but the sky has not disappeared. It is still here, holding the movement, allowing it, witnessing it, and so are you. You have been taught to identify with what you feel, to say, I am sad, instead of sadness is here. To say, I am angry, instead of anger is arising. Language becomes a spell, and over time, it convinces you that you are whatever emotion is loudest. But the truth is, you are not what passes through you. You are what remains. You are the presence that sees, the stillness that holds, the vastness that does not break when the wind howls. This isn't about denying your feelings. Quite the opposite. It is about welcoming them more fully with less fear. When you know you are not the storm, you stop resisting the rain. You allow the thunder to roll without mistaking it for failure. You feel the waves without drowning in them. You stop trying to outrun the weather inside you, and instead, you sit beneath it, grounded in the sky of your awareness. There is wisdom in the storm. It comes not to punish, but to clear, not to shatter, but to reveal. Sometimes what feels like falling apart is the beginning of deeper truth. Sometimes the storm is how your soul rearranges your life so it can breathe again. It takes courage to stay when everything inside says run. It takes faith to trust that the light will return. But it always does. Not because you force it, but because light is what you are. The storm cannot last forever. It never has. Even in your darkest seasons, there have been moments, tiny, fleeting, when something broke through. A breath, a whisper, a glimpse of stillness, a reminder that you are more than the pain, more than the fear, more than the story the storm tries to tell. That whisper was not outside of you. It was you. It is you. It is the part of you that doesn't need answers to rest. The part that is okay, even when things are not. Sometimes the storm shows you where you are still holding on, where you are still hiding, where you are still pretending. It strips away the illusions, the defenses, the masks. It reveals the raw, the tender, the truth. And yes, it hurts, but there is beauty in the breaking. There is clarity in the clearing. There is freedom in the fall. You don't need to understand the storm while you're inside it. You don't need to explain it, justify it, or analyze it. You only need to stay present, to breathe, to keep your heart open, even if it's cracked, especially if it's cracked. Because that's where the light gets in. That's where grace enters. That's where something new begins. And when the storm passes, as it always does, you will notice something. Not that it took something from you, but that it gave something to you. A new softness, a new strength, a deeper sense of what matters, a clearer connection to the part of you that doesn't disappear when everything else does. That part is your anchor. That part is your truth. You don't have to fear the storm. You don't have to avoid the pain. You only need to remember who you are in the middle of it. You are the witness, the space, the breath. You are not the chaos. You are the calm beneath it. You are not the wound. You are the awareness that holds it. You are not the thought screaming for certainty. You are the silence it rises from and returns to. This doesn't mean you won't still hurt. It doesn't mean life won't shake you. But it means you are no longer defined by the shaking. You are grounded in something deeper. You are rooted in presence. And presence is not fragile. Presence does not vanish when the clouds appear. It becomes even more radiant because it is no longer hidden by the need for everything to feel good. The storm may change your direction. It may tear away what no longer serves you. It may leave you raw, exposed, uncertain. But in that rawness, there is truth. In that exposure, there is clarity. In that uncertainty, there is space for something real to grow. Something not built on the need to be okay all the time, but on the knowing that you already are. You are not meant to be perfect. You are not meant to be untouched by life. You are meant to feel, to move, to open, to fall and rise again. The storm is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are alive. And aliveness is not always quiet. It is fierce. It is wild. It is sacred. So when the storm comes, let it come. Meet it with honesty. Meet it with breath. Meet it with the remembrance that even here, especially here, you are not alone. You are not the pain. You are not the fear. You are not the storm. You are the presence that remains. The sky that holds it all. The stillness that never breaks. The truth that cannot be shaken. You are the light within the storm. And the storm is passing. Always, always passing. Chapter 10. Nothing missing, nowhere else to be. From the very beginning, life has whispered a quiet truth into your heart. Sometimes in moments of stillness, sometimes between breaths, sometimes when everything else fell away. It told you, there is nothing missing. But the noise of the world, the pressure to become, to achieve, to strive, taught you otherwise. It convinced you that something was wrong, something was lacking, something needed fixing before you could rest. And so, you chased, you worked, you climbed, you searched, always just a little further, always just one more step away. But what if the search itself is the illusion? What if the final realization isn't a mountaintop epiphany, but the gentle opening of your eyes right where you are? What if the truth has been here all along, patiently waiting for you to stop looking elsewhere? Nothing missing, nowhere else to be. These are not just words. They are the heartbeat of presence, the ground beneath all seeking, the homecoming of the soul. This moment, as it is, does not require improvement. You do not need to be more enlightened. You do not need to be more peaceful, more spiritual, more whole. You are already whole. Even in your confusion, even in your fear, even in the moments you feel most lost. The idea that life is always happening somewhere else is a trick of the mind. It is rooted in the belief that fulfillment is a future event, that peace is waiting around the corner, that love is earned and joy is a prize for the deserving. But reality is simpler than that. Reality is this breath, this body, this awareness. You are not missing anything. You are here. And here is enough. Presence does not ask you to escape your life. It asks you to meet it, to feel the texture of this moment, to notice the light as it filters through the ordinary, to hear the silence behind every sound, to realize that nothing needs to be added for this moment to be sacred. It already is, because you are in it, because awareness is here, because love is not elsewhere. It is now. You may have believed that awakening required effort, that you needed to meditate longer, heal more deeply, read more books, attend more retreats, and all of those things have their place. But not because they bring you closer to truth. They bring you closer to the quiet where truth can be seen. And the truth is this: there is nowhere else to get to. You are already that which you seek. This realization can be disorienting at first. The identity built on striving doesn't know what to do with stillness. The self that was always reaching doesn't know how to simply be. But the more you rest in what is, the more you begin to feel the deep peace of enough. Not enough as a measurement. Enough as a state of being, as a return to what has always been. You are not a project. You are not a task. You are not behind. You are not late. You have not missed your purpose. You are living it right now. Even in the pauses, even in the questions, even in the moments when nothing feels profound. Presence doesn't need to feel special to be sacred. It just needs to be seen. And when you begin to live from this recognition, life softens. Not because it gets easier, but because the tension of trying to arrive somewhere dissolves. You know longer live as a seeker chasing a mirage. You live as presence expressing itself through a human form. You make choices. You feel emotions. You navigate challenges. But all from a ground of being that no longer needs to prove or achieve. There is a deep exhale in realizing that nothing is missing, that you are not behind, that there is no race, only the unfolding of what is. Only this moment, endlessly arriving, endlessly complete. You are not here to become someone. You are here to remember the someone you've always been. Not the identity, but the awareness. Not the story, but the being. Nowhere else to be. That's the freedom. You can stop running. You can stop fixing. You can stop waiting. Life is not happening in some future moment where everything finally makes sense. It's happening now. In the inhale. In the stillness between your thoughts. In the gentle act of noticing your own presence. This doesn't mean you stop dreaming. It means your dreams are no longer escape routes. They are expressions of your wholeness, not strategies to earn it. You can still grow. You can still move. But the movement arises from love, not lack. From fullness, not fear. From presence, not absence. There is no arrival. There is only deeper presence. And presence is not something to attain. It's something to notice. Something to rest into. Something to remember when the mind says you should be more, feel more, know more. In those moments, pause, breathe, listen. Let the silence speak. You are already home. Not someday. Not if you get everything right. But now. In the middle of this ordinary moment. In the beating of your heart. In the breath that asks for nothing but your attention. Nothing missing. Nowhere else to be. Let that be your mantra. Let that be your return. Again and again, when the noise of the world pulls you out of yourself. When you forget. When you strive. When you ache. Let those words bring you back. Not to an idea, but to a truth you can feel in your bones. You are not on the way to yourself. You are yourself. Always have been. Always will be. Thank you for listening.